Hello.
Hello. Is
Hi.
this Brother Peter?
Yes.
Hello?
Hello. Hi.
Brother Peter, Brother Michael, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good, I'm sorry. I just have a quick question for you.
Okay.
I attend a Latin Mass about once a month for the purpose of receiving the sacraments, and a friend of mine noticed in the vestibule there was a literature rack, and in the literature rack there's a little pamphlet entitled Baptism of Desire and of Blood, from the teachings of the popes, the Council of Trent, so forth and so on, which is a little tract that is purports to, try to establish the truth of baptism, desire, and so forth. The priest himself, I've never heard him mention this from the pulpit. He doesn't. He avoids issues of controversy. I don't know if this is actually something he put in the vestibule or not. My question is this. If he, in fact, knows of it, if not even at least put it there, and he approves of it, does this constitute something that would prohibit me from actually attending this Mass? And, receiving the sacrament?
I think so, yeah. I mean, the fact that he's putting out there, right, for everyone to see the promotion, and I think I know the pamphlet. Is this a Sedevacantist priest?
Yes, he is, CMRI.
Okay, yeah, that pamphlet is fraught with dishonest arguments. It actually uses the false translation of Section 6, Chapter 4. No matter how many times we pointed out, these liars continue to use the false translation where they substitute the word except through in place of without. All kinds of other distortions. I think it even uses the errors of Michael Dubé as an argument for baptism of desire. It's totally absurd. It doesn't mention anything at all about baptism of desire. This is covered in our book.
Yeah.
So, if they're putting that out there, no, I don't think you should go.
Yeah, and also, if some group like the CMRI or some other group that does believe in baptism of desire and blood, someone should really call them up and ask them, do you believe if someone rejects baptism of desire and blood, do you believe that they are a Catholic? And if he says no, they're just heretics, well then a person shouldn't go to them. If they think the person's just, in error, then, maybe. But if they're aggressively putting pamphlets, though, out there in addition to that, then that's crossing over the line, too. But
well, a man that I know approached this particular priest, in the confessional, and he admitted to him, says, Father, I do not believe in baptism of desire. I do not believe in baptism of blood. I know we disagree, and I says, I think it's heresy. I says, do you consider me a Catholic? And the priest's response to him was, well, I think we just have a disagreement on the issue. He didn't say he didn't think he was Catholic.
Yeah, I think that is definitely a distinction, because it's something where some of these people mistakenly, it's something where.
But if he's putting it out there, in the
if he's really aggressive about it,
then
he's really proactive and assertive.
Well, I don't know that he's proactive about it in the sense he's passing them out to people, but like I said, I'm not even positive yet that he actually even knows they're there. I have to find out for sure that he is aware they're there.
Oh, someone else may have put them out.
It's possible. I'm going to, I haven't condemned him yet. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and talk to him about it and see if, did you put these there? And if not, are you aware of it? And if so, do you approve of it? And that's why I kind of wanted to ask your opinion, because if the answer, though, is all three of those is ultimately yes.
In that pamphlet, does it say that it's definitely a teaching of the church that has to be held?
I think so.
I haven't looked through it that thoroughly to see. Basically, it's just essentially what it is. It's just quotations. It's not quotations and misquotations. It doesn't really give.
It basically says it's a teaching of the magisterium.
Yeah, it's all on the cover. It just basically says, from the teachings of the popes, the Council of Trent, the 1917 Code of Canon Law, the Roman Martyrology, the Fathers, Doctors, and Theologians of the Church. It doesn't actually add any commentary that I can tell from any particular individual. It's mostly just quotations and mistranslations.
Now, we've spoken to you before. What you mentioned that you actually knew Bishop Sanborn. Do you want to tell our audience basically what he told you?
Oh, that's an interesting story. I'll try to make it as brief as possible. He became aware of my position regarding no salvation outside the Catholic Church and the Baptist desire, and he called me into a meeting in his office on July 3rd, 2002.
This is Bishop Donald Sanborn.
Yeah, Bishop Donald Sanborn. And I just proceeded to have this discussion with him, and he wanted me basically to apologize to people for having, promoted the dogma. And I said that I couldn't do that, and I wanted to discuss the issue with him. He said he would, reluctantly. And I went through various papal doctrines and papal documents and so forth with him, and he kept refuting them, or at least attempting to refute them, which I found quite amazing. And so finally I just wanted to find out just how far would he go with this particular heresy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, Father, well, of course, at that time it was the bishop, I said, are you telling me then that it's possible for a Jew who hates Christ to be saved? You know, I'm assuming, of course, you know, that he understood what I meant by die as a Jew, not to die as a Catholic. And his answer was, yes, most certainly is.
So saying a Jew, you said to him, you're saying that it's possible for a person who dies as a Jew who hates Christ to be saved, and his response was yes.
Yes, that a Jew who hates Christ, has been taught to hate Christ, even a rabbi for that matter, who hates Christ could be saved by his theory of invincible ignorance.
Yeah. And see, this is something where, this is why people need to hear the testimony of Keith here. Because, you know, you tell people about that. Do you know that Bishop Sanborn believes that Jews who hate Christ can be saved? Oh, no.
But actually on our website in the Beware section under Bishop Sanborn article, we quote from Sacerdotium where he says that a snake worshiper, I think it is, or a pagan, he clearly indicates members of false religions can be saved. But saying that a Jew who hates Christ, that's very interesting.
In fact, just one other aspect of that, another friend of mine who is Catholic, does not live too far from me, approached Bishop Sanborn on a similar subject about a year later. And he actually had the same discussion with Bishop Sanborn, and he actually said to Bishop Sanborn, who do you think has a better chance of getting to heaven, a Catholic who denies baptism desire or a Jew who hates Christ? And he said a Jew who hates Christ.
Wow.
Oh, man.
I was floored. I was totally floored.
Wow.
I mean, this shows you the extent this guy is basically regarded as one of the biggest leaders in the traditional Catholic
supposedly
movement.
One of the strongest sedevacantist priests out there.
A total apostate.
Yeah, they're not Christians. They're not even remotely Catholic.
And people are just funneling support to this apostate. You know, he comes out with all his aesthetics and externals and accoutramental things that he has in his brochures. What a bunch of baloney.
Oh, he's quite good. I mean, when it comes to some of the moral issues and so forth like that, but when it comes to this issue, he's lost. He is just plain lost.
Well, I mean, he does say some good things on some other issues, but, you know, I mean, people have to wake up and realize that these guys, you know.
I spoke with numerous priests from the CMRI and at their seminary. They basically all told me that members of non-Catholic religions can be saved. They all, the ones I asked, said that Jews reject Christ. I spoke to a nun. And so, I mean, we're talking about a thorough denial of the dogma by all these.
Do you remember what that nun actually said to you? It was something really bad.
It was, if I recall correctly.
It was up in Spokane?
Yeah. And she said, we're much more Catholic than you, basically, because we don't accept, quote, baptism of desire, but she was forced to admit that she believes that a Jew who can be saved.
So they actually don't even believe in baptism
No,
of
they
desire.
don't. It's a bunch of nonsense.
Because at least if they're trying to quote, like, the Council of Trent and say,
you have to desire it.
Say, yeah, they would have to say, well, it only applies to a person who desires baptism. But obviously
they don't believe that at all. And actually, the nuns of the Society of St. Pius V were in communication with someone we know, and she was approaching them about this issue and questioning them on their views. And they wrote back basically denying the necessity of baptism and even saying that there's no evidence that many of the apostles were baptized. They're basically like, they don't even believe the apostles were baptized. That's how thoroughly they reject the necessity of baptism.
And then you have Bishop McKenna that's saying that the dogma of outside the Catholic Church there is no salvation. It's a warning. What does he say about that?
It's not a truth, infallible truth of heaven. It's a warning for those outside the church. Okay, that's totally heretical. It's not a true statement. It's just a warning. It's just sort of like, good instruction.
And actually, there's this guy from England that was totally possessed and was trying to get help. They sent him put him in the psychiatric ward, and someone found out about his situation and recommended him to go to Bishop McKenna because he does exorcisms in the traditional rite. So he came over to Connecticut, and he actually had the exorcism performed on him by Bishop McKenna, and it was successful. And he's really thankful for the exorcism. And I spoke to Bishop McKenna actually about it after it happened, and I said, "So you told him, he had to become Catholic, right?" And he said, "No." He said, "I gave him a copy of the Catechism." I said, "You didn't tell him he had to become a Catholic? He wasn't a Catholic. I mean, this guy he was ready to do almost anything, and he didn't even tell him you have to become a Catholic. Otherwise, you're going to get 7 more devils next time, and you may not get maybe a certain kind of grace to see the manifestation of it."
Oh, and also, didn't you have a similar type of conversation with Father Hearn?
Yes, Father Hearn. In the course of, I'm trying to think exactly which specific conversation, but I can tell you this: that in a sermon he gave going back about 2 or 3 years ago, he was talking about catechumens receiving instruction, and he raised the question in the middle of the sermon. He said, if a catechumen was to die before he had received his instruction and was baptized, would he be lost? And his answer was, with a poignant pause, no. And at that point, I got up, walked to the center aisle, and told him he was a heretic and left.
And did you have other conversations with him about members of non-Catholic religions?
Not specifically with him.
Didn't he tell you that, like, an in-law or something could be saved?
Oh, yes. I mentioned that to him, and he mentioned about a relative, and he said, it doesn't matter, pray for them anyway.
Oh, okay.
I said, Father, they weren't even Catholic. And he said, well, it doesn't matter, just pray for them anyway. As if to say, well, there's still hope for them. That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate letting me call into your wonderful program.
Okay, thanks for the call.
Okay, God bless.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. And we also have, speaking of Luther, Father Kenneth Novak of the Society of St. Pius X.
That was just
He said that you could pray for Martin Luther.
Yeah, I mean, that was just amazing. We got a call from a guy from North Carolina. And actually, we told this guy, we said, the Society of Pius X believes members of false religions can be saved. He knew about it. He read where they said it. We told him you can't support them financially if you go there. And he continued to support them financially. And he called up one day, it was on All Souls Day, and Father Kenneth Novak got up and said, you can pray for deceased non-Catholics. You can even pray for Martin Luther. And he was so amazed that this was said by a priest of the Society of Pius X. I was actually, somewhat amazed. I mean, and he called the seminary, up in Winona, and he said, Father Novak says we can even pray for Martin Luther and deceased non-Catholics. What do you think about this? And the person that he talked to from the seminary up in Winona said that he's fine saying that, that's okay. I mean, and so it was just amazing. And Philip Clure was his name. That was his name. And finally, ended up leaving. And actually, Father Kenneth Novak also asked him, because he found out that he and his wife, or maybe some family members, were holding the position that John Paul II at that time was not a pope. He actually walked right up to them, and he wanted them to publicly apologize.
Yeah, and actually, before the Blessed Sacrament, make basically a vow to John Paul II. And he's considered like a stalwart Society of St. Pius X priest. And
because he chants real
well.
Yeah,
but he's just a phony heretic. He's fully aware of what John Paul II was involved with.
It doesn't mean anything to these guys, because they don't hate evil, because they are actually evil, sadly.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't mean that much to them. It doesn't really hit them as being offensive, because things that are offensive to God aren't offensive to them because they're not of God.